Welcome back, everybody. I started off with my cam frozen, but it's me and Fellow this time. We're going to be watching Bingus and Yakuza, and let's get straight into the game because we are already, kind of behind schedule. So I guess
Only a
we'll
little
see you
bit.
in game a little bit. How you doing, Fellow, though?
I'm doing good, and thankfully it is best of one, so we can be allowed the leniency in terms of starting a bit late, but we had to make sure everything was completely set and ready to get all the fixins underway. And apparently our producer has actually joined the wrong game, so we will be here in caster cams for a little while, and we will now have to
Okay.
try to vividly detail everything, as it does take a little while to go and actually leave the game and then join a
Rejoin.
new one.
Yep.
So we might actually miss out a little bit on round number 1, but that's okay. It is C-Store, and things are like, this is the most like square C-Store I've probably seen in a hot minute, Foxy.
That's true. Storefront still has the saucy astronaut shape, though, so, at least there's that. But honestly, I don't know where I would go from here. I think the office breach
Actually,
makes the most sense on
uh,
paper, question mark. You have easy access to tellers as well. I guess you could say the same thing about storage too. Bathroom is a little bit of a funnel there. You make it and you can immediately be shot from two directions. It can be both storefront and freezer. You can just kind of get beamed from. So bathroom, I think, is risky, but you could get a few nice angles from the window, which is also what the attackers have highlighted with their own drawings. But wait, why are we paused? Something mid.
I think I would rather have the match actually on air, so I paused it. I just manually paused it. Or just it's a tech issue. So
Okay. Well, we both get a win, says chat.
yeah, Marbles is just continuing to mauled. Have fun, Bozo.
Have fun, Bozo. Okay, well, since we have some time, since we are paused, you want to talk about the teams really quickly? We've seen YY in the major. We've seen them, have a pretty abrupt, quick exit, which I don't think anyone expected, but they got knocked down in, I think, the first round possible. And they've since picked up Jet. They've made a few roster changes. But Bingus is the really interesting roster, right? They're a newly formed one. They have kind of an all-star lineup. So why don't you take us through them?
Yeah, so for Bingus, we've got Ned, Josh, Gravy, not Revenant, Marbles, and then for YY, it's Flogel, Sleepy Photon, who was actually part of the Slumber Party crew in yesterday's match, Chrome Trigger, Ghetto, and Jet. And I think we are actually ready to start. So I'm going to ask if both teams are. And then I'm going to assume they are ready. Josh puts in the But hey, at least we have the game shown here for streams. That's good.
Yeah. So an extremely square Easter, like you said, and honestly, Office in my mind makes a lot of sense. Like I've already said, then Tyler's X's is relatively easy. I probably would put someone on the window as well in bathroom if I were an attacker, just to watch the rotates early on. Maybe rotate them off later. Uh, Storage blow. I don't know. It's I guess possible, but I don't see it happening, especially not from Bingus. So yeah, I think what we're seeing on the map is very likely the clacker, the door charge both placed there. I don't think shutters are gonna get blown, but he technically could double blow here. I feel like blowing both office and shutters while it leaves you kind of deprived of charges in at least one of the latter rounds. It opens up so many deep angles that you can just kind of hold. You can hold off bathroom, freezer, the fridges rotate, the actual teller's doors, the teller's slit even you can maybe swing out from the outside, and then the shed. Everything is kind of centrally connected to storefront here, and getting rid of it early on would probably just be, extremely beneficial. But probably just going to be a single charge, at least judging by the map. So let's see what Bingus have in store for us, fellow.
Hopefully something exciting and possibly rejuvenating. Perhaps we have been in a very long pause, not getting to see any action. At least the map has been drawn upon quite often. Sadly, no funny cats in any of the corners just yet, but maybe we'll gift it to that later on. Good to see Josh back in official play. I've heard nothing but good things about this man, and finally getting to see him potentially really shine to his best capabilities. That could be really interesting to see as well. I mean, both teams. We know about YY pretty well, and we don't know much about Bingus because they are a new team, but I think it'll still be a fun best of one despite that.
Absolutely agreed. Also, not Revenant on the shotgun, which I think has a lot of potential. I've seen him absolutely beam people with it. But then again, he's also insane on those SMGs. So I don't know, it's a weird trade off. And I'm not sure if I would like to see Rev on the shotgun. I still think he provides more than a rifle. We'll see though as the round goes on. The breach comes out, so does the green kick, and it's going to be Chrome Trigger contesting bathroom for the time being. Both Ned, Rev, and Marbles pushed in, but it's going to be Gravy that gets the entry. Chrome Trigger off the board, but at least he got the molly out and wasted a little bit of time. And now it's just Ghetto stuck in Freezer with his trusty neck. The nades are coming out, but he rotates out into storefront. Probably the wise thing to do here. He still needs to do something. He still needs to contest. A few bullets coming out, but he doesn't connect any just yet.
Ghetto able to waste a fair amount of time here just simply proxing around near Freezer, not allowing both Josh and Gravy to fully push out just yet. Thankfully, though, we've got Ned still picking a pick on towards Photon. Jet will refrag, but the man advantage is still in the favor here of Bingus. Josh will finally remove Ghetto from the process. Now it's only Flogel and Jet, and currently they're inside of Teller. Not really any great sight lines except for that yellow door leading in towards Teller, but they're going to have to forfeit that position as Jet is going on a rotate through storage. Gravy is waiting, though. The grenade is not tossed out at the right time, but it's not going to be that big of a concern as thankfully both Gravy and Josh are still alive, and they're going to have more than enough time to both retrieve any weaponry and also a clacker as well in the hands of Gravy and still get that defuse down on the bomb.
I mean, great start from Bingus. Like you said, Clacker's in pocket. They can just loot for weapons now. The bomb is fully prepped. You just need to tap it one more time. 30 seconds left. And then the short looting period after we actually defuse the bomb is also going to come in clutch. But there's not much for them to pick up. They got a neck. They got a Gruber. And I think that's it. There we go. Gravy will finish up the bomb. Clacker has been saved. And yeah, I don't know. Bingus just stick around way more convincingly than I thought they would. Um, Obviously, I know most of you guys were with us on the secondary stream on Gundam's channel. We casted LCG versus Rise an hour ago, and LCG kind of washed Rise away, to be completely honest. And we were both surprised, but then we said, okay, they're a new team. They're still adapting. They're still learning. They're still figuring things out. So maybe we give them the benefit of the doubt. And I thought it was going to be the same with Bingus. I know they've been scrimming and they've been established for a little longer than Rise have been, but still, I thought they would kind of have a rocky start going on, but no, they just went in, full force.
Well, heading into Bank now, I believe that grenade was used in towards the round, so on the third one, we're probably not going to have that, as I feel like you kind of need to expend a grenade most of the time when you're attacking on Bank, mostly because either like a grenade inside a vault or just some major choke point, which there are a lot of, and honestly, I like the idea of going in for manager here. It's gonna make clearing out accounting much easier. You have to really only deal with like two major sight lines, and then you just kind of have to get button control at that point. It's just gonna be a very uphill battle to try to have to rummage around all the way through security and tellers, for example, and then try to actually clear out into lobby. So it's gonna be a very difficult late game here for Bingus, but the early game should most definitely be a pretty explosive one.
I also like the fact that they're going from manager. They're kind of circumventing the default entrance push, which is still, extremely prevalent on Bang. It makes sense because the button is there in accounting right next to the manager blow, but it also means that it's probably going to be very heavily defended. You can already see all the barbed wires being placed around accounting. I'm actually surprised there's none on either the manager window or the doorway just yet. There we go. Get moves there as I pointed out. Maybe they're listening to us. But other than that, the map is just, full of scribbles from both teams. You can tell there's a lot of heavy planning going into it by both teams. And honestly, I feel like Bingus, if they reach a true potential, they could be one of the more tactful teams or tactical teams in this entire tournament, in this entire league. Um, they have Rev, who is, an absolute fountain of knowledge. And they also have Gravy. They have Josh, who are apparently absolute gunners. So I really am excited to, kind of see them go as the league progresses. But back to Bank. It is primarily going to be a manager push, but Josh is going to go into loans as well. Or not into, yeah, into loans, excuse me.
through the vent, of course,
through the
opting
vents.
to double flash, but when you're playing by yourself, I mean, that's not like the worst idea. There's a lot of the map you have to clear out, so rather would waste a couple of flashes and potentially find some sort of pick to bring that man advantage into your team early on than have to lose Josh early on. He also has Gravy backing him up as well, which might be a bit challenging because there aren't a lot of great positions for Gravy to play with that knack and also utilize the grenade, but still having a double pincer attack is not that horrendous. I just don't like how weak the presence inside of Manager currently is, but maybe only having not Rev and Marbles in this one position might be more than enough to get the job done as Marbles opens things up in terms of the kill department as Floga will fall early and that Molly tossed at just the worst place possible, isolating Jet, but I don't think Bingus is aware of that currently.
Yeah, I think Jed is counting on that. You know, if they see the molly, they say, obviously it's clear they didn't just block one of their own players off with it, but Jed was patiently waiting in the corner. He's now playing for a kick, and we've seen him do similar things quite often. I think Merchant did the same thing as well yesterday in the show match, and Marbles will find Flogel. Flashes are just coming out, and I'm pretty sure Jet, yes, he is stunned at the moment. Marbles going to push him out, but it's Josh that gets the kill. Ned one of his own as well, and it's all up to Ghetto in the vault to clutch it up. Only one Molly and a barbed wire to assist him, and it's probably not going to be enough. Josh already pushed through Molly, and it comes out very late.
Oof.
Ghetto just falls to Josh's shots as he gets two on the round, defuses the bomb for his team, and it's not even close, as it's a flawless one for Bingus on Bank.
Able to keep the nade and have a couple of defender weapons to boot as well into round number 3. Pretty good stuff. And I actually really like the patience there from Manager because they understood how weak of a push that could be if they only have 2 people. They were waiting for that hall presence
Mhm.
to push in through. It denied Chrome Trigger of doing anything with that full auto, and then it was literally just a sandwich on those last couple of defenders that were left instead of
Yep.
accounting. They just cleaned up what they started, and then it was just one defender left to stand inside a vault. And even though they had a molly and there's only 20 seconds left, that still theoretically gives just enough time for that round to be a win for Bingus. It could have been down to the wire if that molly was tossed properly and maybe Josh didn't just scram in through vault as quickly as possible. But that would have been like pretty make or break, I suppose. Good round overall for Bingus. And now heading to the final round of this first rotation, it's going to be Factory with a pretty interesting set. I like the openness of Office. You can definitely play for high ground very effectively, and there is still a wall charge, I believe, in pocket of Bingus. And because they've been able to keep both clackers from round number 1 and 2, they're going to be able to utilize that wall charge into some degree. And also to point out, Lights is honestly contendable if you push in through either Office or Dock. So getting that eastern side of the map in your pocket is definitely a good thing here for Bingus, and to also potentially worry about Green Door as well to have a multifaceted approach is also phenomenal as well.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. I think if you go dark though, lights are gonna be kind of hard. You have to funnel on the on the walkway, and I assume
Mhm.
there's gonna be either some barb or someone heavily contending it from top pipeworks or office. So I do think Yakuza will be ready for that. If you want to go lights, in my opinion, you need to go office, and even then, it's kind of risky. Just because there are, the entire office wall is just pure windows through which you can get shot through. There is a little bit of cover if you stick close to the wall, but still, why risk it for a biscuit? I don't know. Dock blow would I think work really well with a double blow here. Especially like if you still had two charges, you could go both office and dock. I think that would open up a lot of possibility for play. But if I'm not mistaken, it's just the wall charge left on the attacking side, meaning that they need to make a decision. And once you factor in the fact that you can only blow one thing, I think storage is also a decent-ish possibility. Still give you some control, especially if you pair it with a kick on server farm. Then you pretty much have the entire left half of the map under control. You just need to push out of conveyors. You need to push out into pipeworks. So I'm actually extremely curious to see what the teams actually elect to do. It looks like there's going to be at least one, if not two people playing close to server, though, as Josh goes there and kicks it early on.
Well, Marble has the wall charge and also a saber, which if you can get control of Dock, that's a lot of early silence you can gather. And then if there is a weak presence inside of Office, which currently there is, then that's plenty of vertical silence you can hold as well with that sniper. The only thing to worry about currently is probably just going to be Jet with that mop. He could maybe find some sort of opening pick, but he'll now have to rotate around inside of Office to try to counteract that Dock play. That's going to open things up for both Josh and Gravy. So once again, the positioning overall here by Bingus is quite nice. And on top of that, that, they get rid of Jet early on. Flogel falls as well, and this push inside of Doc has been working wonders. Chrome Trigger will try to tussle with Ned. He'll win that first engagement, but Revenant is there to refrag swiftly. Ghetto will fall by a nice tag team, and it's only up to Photon in the back of conveyors. Really not able to do all that much in the 1vx. The bomb has already been getting diffused, I should say, and Marbles just across the ways on the top of that back stairwell near office will shut down the lone defender. So it's going to be 3-0 for Bingus. I mean, just pretty good dominance, to say the least, in that first quarter, Boxy.
I mean, yeah, flawless start is always something to marvel at, but with I don't know, ease that Bingus have done it so far, it's just I don't know, man. I thought this would be much closer than it is. We were talking about LCG and GB or this game for the mainstream, and we were like, okay, LCG versus GB is probably going to be a wash. Let's just do Yakuza versus Bingus because it's probably going to be a little bit closer. And it just hasn't been. Yakuza are failing to find a response to all of the attacks coming out from Bingus. And I mean, I don't know. If you're Yakuza at this one, you need to change something. Something's obviously not working, and I'm not sure what it is. I think it's either comms or they're just losing their ones, or a mix of both. But going into the second split and then later on second half, uh, I don't know. Yakuza just needs to work it out, honestly.
Potentially their coordination is just not up to snuff in comparison to Bingus's coordination, because they're showing a lot of restraint, Bingus. They're taking their time. They're not committing to any push until they know they have some sort of backup plan at the ready. So they're not just funneling in and allowing their opponents to really take advantage of them. Whereas for Yakuza, they don't seem as awake right now. Maybe it's just like that first match stretch, and they'll finally start to show their true form in these next couple of rounds. And maybe their just defender side is just not as good as their attacking part. So once again, this could be their opportunity to finally bite back against Bingus. But if now is not the time for them to step up, I don't think there really will be any other time, because it's already 3-0 here for Bingus. So they've got rounds to bleed. And I really don't feel like they're going to be slowing down on that pain train anytime soon.
Keep in mind, well, this is not the major, and we only have best of ones fellow. Each team does play 2 best of ones per Saturday, at least in the upper division. That's the case. And right after this game, we're going to stay here. We're going to keep watching Yakuza as they go up against Global Breakout, meaning that they literally got the arguably 2 hardest matches of the league in their first week. And it's not a great start. I think, my mental would be shot if I had to play against Global Breakout, the defending major champions, and then Bingus, the powerhouse that has just recently been formed but is looking absolutely formidable. And even if Yakuza end up losing both their matches today, which is definitely a possibility, um, I think they'll do much better in subsequent weeks. I guess what I'm trying to say. But let's not count on this just yet. This is their first attacking round. They can still put in a lot of work, and it looks like it's going to be a primarily bathroom push. Maybe not. Maybe they'll also breach storefront. Yep, there you go. Storefront breach is also coming out, but a bathroom kick is still a real possibility there.
And it's only Josh at the moment here able to cover. A bunch of smokes get tossed out. They could definitely isolate Josh here. Now Revenant could be there to potentially back him up, but it's not at the right time.
Oh,
And they both just get dumpstered inside of Freezer, unfortunately. That was great isolation implemented there by the attacking side of YY. Now they have a lot of the map in their back pocket. Gravy swings, though, at a fantastic moment and gets 2 with the full auto. Thankfully, there is some sort of response by Flogel, so it's a 3 versus 2, still favoring YY. All they have to deal with now, for the most part, is going to be Ned inside of Teller. They can assume that Gravy is probably in office. That's why Photon is just watching this green door from a safe distance. That way he cannot swing out and deal any more damage. And now they can begin to pressure the bomb. Flogel wasn't watching originally, but now he can. But caught in the molly, that's exactly what happens to Chrome. Flogel will try to deal with Ned. Thankfully, he'll manage to get the job done. Now it's only Gravy with Photon still watching from that safe distance, able to make sure he cannot run out of fridges safely. And there we have it. Photon, the patience there was the make or break, and it will finally be around in the books for YY.
I mean, great entry from Wawa. Ghetto gets 1, Revenant tries refragging, Jet is just ready for that, so he trades it out. And it was a 5v3 of the rip, as you like saying, and it's somehow sticking with me. And then it was just a matter of trading
Yeah.
it out, trading it out. Gravy was looking scary in that auto shotgun, but there's only so much you can do. He already got 2 in the round, and he was still left alone in 1v2. It's also pretty smart from the attackers of how they held their distance towards Gravy. They knew he had the auto shot. They knew where he was, so they just kind of took the longest possible angles on the doorway while Flugel was also tapping the bomb and ended up working out. But we're back on bank, and it's again this huge one. Let's see what they actually decide to do. I'm super curious to see if Yakuza kind of come up with a few attacks of their own, or if they will do mostly what Bingus had done. Because I think Bingus and their attacks, like we've said, were practically flawless. Maybe not, kill wise, they had died a few times, but execution wise, I think you could have played it much better than Bingus have. And I want to see how Flogel and company decide to actually combat that. Will they try doing the same thing, just repeating what apparently works, or if they will come up with some stuff of their own. For the most part, at least on bank, it looks like it is going to be the same thing happening over and over again. It's just going to be two people pushing manager and get three vents into loans this time around. But other than the small manpower change from three manager two vents to two manager three vents, I don't think much is going to be different.
Maybe in terms of where exactly Bingus are playing, that could change because they already lost the full auto. Gravy brought that out on their first defensive round and may have found two, but they didn't get the round one outright. So maybe playing for more mid range could be the option here for Bingus. We
Hmm.
have Josh already bring out the mop, I believe it to be, and a couple of AKs are now in selection for both Gravy and Marbles. So that could be the bigger picture here for the defensive side. But like you mentioned with the attack, the same 3-2 split, which I like because I feel like Lobby, you have to deal with way too much for that button control unless you're double charging, which there are a lot of good charge options for factory. So that is just simply a waste of utility. So getting into manager for instant button pressure and then already having hall control because you cleared out loans through vents, that is just a much better idea. And just simply put it, that will give you a chance on the attack to get another round on the board.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest part of what teams that like to do this push is just that you kind of pinch the button, and you always need to contend the button to even get to the vault. And they're rotating through security is always clunky, whether you're attacker or defender. And then tellers, well, you can tuck.
Lie detected, we love it. It's okay, there's still
Got
plenty
it.
of time.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think it's just my point on like this is a nice pinch coming in from both sides, and the defenders,
Mhm.
they have very limited rotation possibilities. Like I said, through security, they can rotate out, but they're very very clumsy to do so. And then tellers are just kind of a tuck. You can't actually rotate it out of them into lobby. And the lone space is already coming out. The smokes and the flash is being deployed. Photon on the shotgun. I want to see him do work with it. The frag grenade comes out, and the accounting barbed wire is taken care of. The breach still playing very passively, though, hasn't even been open. Fogel and company just waiting for a late breach, and the time is now. Ned is going to be playing with the neck on the doors to get shut down. Krung going for a second one. He finds it, and Josh is ready to refrag that. He safely gets into security and then potentially, or eventually rather, into main lobby, but it won't even end up mattering. Marbles, Gravy, and Josh are all that Bingus have at the moment. It's not looking especially great for them. The button already pressed, and they're low on utility, low on HP as well.
Gravy cannot really do all that much except have a couple of sight lines. He's basically trapped inside of Teller's Marbles by themselves on top of that too, able to throw out a molly to now rejoin Josh near the vault. Almost trying to get aggressive there with the mop. Now gets fully blinded, but thankfully can fall back at just the right time. 20 seconds left. Josh just sprints at the opposition. Gravy will fall, leaving Marbles in the 1 versus 3 and just gets dropped by Flogel. The positioning overall there by the defensive side of Bingus was just questionable at least. And that kind of costed them at the very end. But one thing to mention all the way back at the beginning of that round was the late charge there, completely threw net off guard and gifted two instant picks there for
Yep.
YY. Once again, just great patience and timing.
I mean, we've hyped up the Magenta Man so hard because he has been, such a great player in the past. He has provided so much for the scene. He has even taught us a few things already, and you can tell he has so much knowledge going on. But this is the second round in a row where he just kind of died very early on entry, or rather, on his teammate out on entry. He tried refragging and just got taken out immediately because Yakuza were just ready for that for the swing. And something obviously needs to change. I also wonder who the IGL for Bingus is. Obviously, they're doing way better at attacking and defending so far, and it's funny to think about the fact that no defensive route has been won in this series yet. We're on our sixth round right now, and the first five rounds all won by attack. Is I don't even think you can blame it on the maps. Like some of them may have been attacker sided, but not that attacker sided. And maybe Bingus can somehow retain their lead if they just get this round on factory, go into the second half with a 4-2 split. It may not be flawless like they started off, but it's still a huge advantage. Meanwhile, Yakuza are looking to tie it up, and there's a real possibility they actually succeed. I am curious on what they actually elect to do with their last charge on the board. It's probably going to be storage, at least looking at the map, though. And this is something that I was talking about earlier. When you only have one charge, I feel like you can do a lot with storage, especially if you double it with a server farm kick, and then only then push, conveyor stock, cargo, pipeworks, and eventually potentially office if anyone's still playing in there. What do you think?
So having the storage and server farm push in by the attack of YY is not bad. They can kind of pincer anyone that doesn't fall back early instead of storage. That could net an early pick for YY. And then still having that green pressure, you can actually go on the top of Pipeworks, kind of play vertical, and then begin to drop down. The only problem is that Pipeworks does not grant you access into offices. So that's probably going to be the biggest issue here for YY is just office in general because clearing out dock, that also could be a mild challenge here, but you can try to divvy your way through conveyor and try to get some sight lines over towards here, and then maybe also from pipework, try to just to pivot around to not get shot through office as well. Both dock and office, though, are going to probably be the most challenging thing here for YY. So if we're able to see an early fallback and just proper positioning in those two areas here by Bingus, they should get this fourth or their sixth round, pardon, in the bag in their side rather than have it be an even 3-3 going in the second half.
Yeah, Bingus is contesting the server slash storage push quite heavily so far, and let's see if they can actually make it work. Net throws out the molly, but Flogel pushes through, and he has the Ingmar, which deals so much damage at a long range. He has lost about 50 HP though, and it's going to be Josh swinging him, but Net's taking him out sooner. Ghetto though, ready for it. Marbles will fall, and it's a 4v4, as I say, that Chrome Treaker gets the advantage for YY as he takes out Josh as well. And it's somehow falling apart for Bingus once again, as everyone on YY is relatively healthy still. Net on about 50 HP. And that's pretty much all there is. Revenant trying to help from office, but there are no good angles for him to contest server from. He'll have to push up on the Pipeworks, and that is where Ghetto is playing.
What?
What?
Oh, well, apparently you can still walk around through Pipeworks. My top-down view actually trolled me. You can still get control of Pipeworks. That's completely on me. And I believe Revan has now
Uh,
noticed that as well, so he's holding a nice little pixel angle towards top of server farm. Will now trade some damage here with Chrome Trigger. Not a lot. Thankfully, Ned is there to actually help alleviate some of that pressure here, but it's still a huge man advantage favoring the attacking side. Revenant and Ned fall at the exact same time, and Gravy, last one to stand on the back of Doc. Plenty of pressure being established onto the bomb now at 50, almost 60% at this point. Chrome Trigger is just keeping Gravy at bay with backup from Jet, and things will now completely equalize that pressure into both office and the back of Doc, which is completely ignored by the attacking side. And once again, they were just able to have a phenomenal showing here in that second part of the first half.
I mean, there's three possibilities. A, all three maps that we've seen were extremely attacker side, and that's why everyone did better on attack. B, Yakuza woke up. And three, somehow, some way, Bingus halted. Which one do you think it was?
Oh, I think both the coordination by Bingus and YY were able to have things be so attacker favored. We never saw just a complete funnel into one direction, except for last round, but that was kind of
Mhm.
acceptable because all they had to really do is just clear out that one place in office, and that was more than enough to get the job done. Other than that, we did not see a complete funnel by either YY or Bingus really any of those rounds. So the overall team play there was just significantly better on the attack for both YY
Yeah.
and Bingus. Now I'm wondering because I agree with you that all of those sets were incredibly attacker favored. I'm wondering now on Kill House if things could finally change and we could actually see our first official round as a win for a defending team. Potentially, but I'll have to wait and see, I suppose.
I mean, speaking of defenders, look at the red door on hallway. You think we're going to see any funny play out of it? Considering it's practically in reception windows. We know Gravy loves to do some underhanded ready stuff on the auto shotty, and this is pretty much the map to do it on. To be honest, you can do so much ready shit, but attack seems to be aware of it. They have marked it on the map. And it seems going to be a 2-3 kitchen to reception split. So if you were to contest hallway doors aggressively with a shotgun, you definitely could do that. But they seem ready for you. Kitchen push, meanwhile, I like it on paper, but it's also wallbang galore. So you really need to be careful to not just get most of your HP chunked out before you even make it out of kitchen. And I'm sure that is what defense will be playing for Ned, with the neck spawning in lockers and placing down the kitchen barbs. Probably he has the neck exactly for those wallbangs. I assume that's what's going through his mind. There's also this window in kitchen that at least helps attackers take control of it a little bit. But again, the main problem if you're trying to take kitchen isn't the control in kitchen. It's the wall banks that'll come from everywhere around. The Molly comes out early on. Ned loses some of the HP. I'm not sure what was happening there. He got smoked off though. And so Jet and Photon are free to enter kitchen as they please. Meanwhile, the rest of Yakuza is slowly but surely flashing and then pushing into reception, and they have control of it. A few wall bangs on the hallway red door, but no one's playing there. Surprisingly, Gravy, though, fires a few shots, falls off instead, deals just a tiny chunk of damage to Flogel, but that's it.
Once again, great coordination by YY, opening up that red door kind of early so they could actually play for a nice pincer maneuver or a cutoff angle from anyone falling back inside of reception. Still that 5-on-5, but not for long. Ghetto strikes first. Revenant will fall right inside of lockers towards the back area, looking down through any courtyard sight lines. Trying to defend lockers itself might not be too complicated. Marbles is there to potentially go for some wall bangs with a full auto, and
Oh,
he'll just make
oh,
mincemeat out of Jet. Photon tries to run inside the bomb, but has no coverage by his team. But there's Chrome Trigger, just the right time.
woo!
3 beautiful picks all in a row for Chrome Trigger. Now it's only Marbles left to stand. They're nowhere near the site. They're aware he was going for wall bangs through offices, and now has to deal with this mid-range engagement against Chrome Trigger, and he's got the Yingmar to best him against that shotgun. 4 picks for Chrome Trigger. What a step up by this man to grant a 4th round now in a row for YY, as they have more than enough time left to fuse. So all they need to do is just look around for any utility to boot into the next round, and that's about it.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And I guess the attacker win streak continues, doesn't it? Chrome Trigger, his first 2 kills came off of a very nice flashbang in the middle of lockers. Both Ned and Gravy seemed flashed. Gravy was the first one to fall. Ned couldn't refrag because he was just spinning around. You could tell he was not being able to see. And then somehow Josh lost his gunfight. Chrome just sprinted into him. Josh wasn't ready. He was all up to Marbles, I believe, who was playing, on the other side of the map with the auto shotty for the wallbangs. He had to challenge the hallway, and he just can't swing hallway with the auto shotty. So I don't know. Bingus have not won a round in 4 rounds, fellow. And with how strongly they started off, I think this is A, concerning, and B, surprising. But maybe Keldom is where they can make something work. Again, it's one of these big ones where whatever breach you go for, I think it's viable. Castle is an extremely strong position, obviously. The least likely breach to see if we see N. The pit one, I think, because you need to cross those castle windows multiple times to even go for lights, and then you need to press the button to even get into castle. The only way, I think I've said this before in this specific map, maybe even yesterday, but if you do breach pit, I think your main purpose is just to kind of contest these green doors first, so that, your teammates that are pushing beach can just be pushed from pit. And maybe later on in the round, you can actually push into pit, get the button, get the lights, and then push castle and onwards. But it looks like it's going to be a jungle breach, which is the more possible, the more viable one anyways. And I assume at least 2 people, including the Saber, will be going beach as well, just to provide those long angles to kind of pinch from both sides a little bit. On defense, attack from Yakuza seems pretty basic, but at the same time, kind of reliable, and it's all up to Revenant and his bunch to see how they decide to stop it, or at least try stopping it.
Yeah, I honestly prefer jungle here much more, because if you're able to clear out both this log area and also the top vertical parts, you basically have like every sight line on lockdown, and then you can just start applying pressure to the bomb. It's very awkward to try to like trench through this water from base for the most part, unless you have like a very good man advantage early on. And then with pit, it's very easy to deny most pit pushes, just sitting on top of castle. So this is probably the easiest way going through jungle in means to actually get rid of that dominating castle presence by both Josh and Gravy, a big AK and mop in their hands, so they can play for range. And I'm almost going to guarantee they don't want to lose that castle pressure at all throughout the round.
Yeah, I mean, in most of these kill domes, especially ones that are kind of positioned like this, I feel like Castle is just the strongest possible thing you can hold. But then again, if everyone on the side dies and it's just you and Castle, you also can't do much. Castle is extremely strong as a, supporting vantage point. But again, if everyone in jungle dies, you still have a very hard time contesting the bomb, especially because the button of the bomb is actually on its right side, meaning that you can only chuck some mollies from Castle and not actually hit any shots. The breach comes out though, the bullets flying in every direction. If Logal has the long range Ingmar in hands, let's see if he can make it work. Josh though gets the entry onto Chrome Trigger. Photon loses a lot of HP, but Flogel is ready to get Ned. Man count equalized, right now as Revenant gets another one. Josh with his second, and Revenant with a second as well. It's all up to Flogel on the Ingmar. He takes a lot of damage, and he's gonna get pushed out by Revenant. He's ready for it. Was that a get kill? That was an LS kill. Okay. Wow. What a round. Yeah, I didn't even have time to switch to first person like at all. I was just on map view for this entire round. I ended in what, 40 seconds, 30 seconds.
Yeah, that was an incredibly fast round. Big thing to note was Chrome Trigger's actual initial death. It's what I talked about, how awkward it is to actually trudge through the water when you're going
Mm-hmm.
through base. There's so many different crossfires you're going to walk into. The timing there was actually very insufficient. If Chrome Trigger had waited just a couple more seconds maybe for backup, then that could have been a completely different round. Whether we had someone like Jet watching with the saber at the ready to deal with Josh swinging with that mop at the top of Castle, and then you only have to worry about the back area of Ruins, which your teammates from Red Door should be trying to instigate. That would have been a completely different setup by Chrome Trigger, but he jumped the gun, and I guess the communication there was just way too hectic for YY. So we finally get to see a defender round in the hand of somebody as a win rather than the other way around. So that things will now equalize, and that probably could be the make or break here for either Bingus or YY. Just how many defender round wins we can have on the board, because a majority of these setups have been very well thought out by the attack, especially in YY. That was like the one time where we saw some genuine weaknesses, and in all honesty, it was only an error by like a couple of seconds. That's how small the gap is between Bingus and YY right now. So this is going to be a hell of a show in these next 3 rounds, to say the least, Boxy.
Oh yeah, absolutely agreed. And I'm super curious to see who actually gets the upper lead now. I think whoever wins the next round is in such great predisposition to win the entire series. Again, keep in mind, it's just the best of one, and we can potentially draw it out. We're 2 rounds for each team from that happening. So still quite a few rounds to go, but it's also not unfeasible. I think a tie would maybe even be deserved at this point from what we've seen from both teams. They've both had their, moments in the sun. They've both had moments where we were like, that's probably not the right thing to do. But we're back on C-Store, and again, it's one of those very basic ones, I guess. Bathroom Breach doesn't really give you all that much. There's so much, I guess you can push into, both Shed and Storefront and Tellers from it, so I guess that's the only way you want to breach Bathroom is just to kind of go for the quick teller control. On the other side, you have the Office Kick and the Storage Push, which you could also go for, but then again, Storage Breach doesn't really give you much more than what you get with an Office Kick, besides maybe some safety from fridges, but other than that, that's it. And it looked like it's going to be a primarily a push into Office, but also probably a Storefront breach from what we've seen from Yakuza so far.
Yeah, not the worst idea at all. Plenty of long angles you can actually play with. The only problem here is that everyone's got AP25s. The mop, or pardon, the saber is no longer in action here for the attack, and Flogel's no longer alive either. It is just a bloodbath so
Oh,
early in this round. Complete and utter Bingus domination. Chrome Trigger will finally stop the onslaught, but it might be far a little too late as it's only Chrome Trigger left alive. We've seen this individual find multiple kills at a time in a separate round, but this time around, it's going to be another 4K most likely for the man to go big and try to clutch up. Josh has got that mop, so a lot of long range capabilities here against Chrome Trigger, and then you've got the close range proximity as well. 2 Grubers in the hands of Marbles and Ned. Also 2 Mollies as well. They can burn through time despite the fact there is still a minute on the board for Chrome Trigger to win this one out. The only issue is just the lack of information. He has no idea where anyone's playing at. He'll have to face check every single nook and cranny here, which won't be as bad because he
oh,
has 50 seconds, but it's still a 1v2. He finds one onto Marbles to make it that scenario, but now he's on incredibly low HP. Ned will try to get aggressive to force the hand of Marbles, or pardon, force the hand of Chrome Trigger, I'm sorry, but They're both on incredibly low HP still, to point that out. One shot with the mop or even the Gruber would probably put Chrome Trigger in the
Okay.
dirt. Thankfully, though, Ned was also low in HP, but Josh is there. They had bodies to expend, so it's not that big of a concern. The mop can now go over into the next round here for Bingus as they're getting closer and closer towards match point, Boxy.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. But then again, you just gotta commend Chrome Trigger. You gotta give credit where credit is due. And while he was the last one alive, he was in a 1v4, if I'm not mistaken, and he got 3 of the defenders. So at least he crippled their utility to some extent, and that is gonna show. Actually, it's not gonna show because we're switching sides again. I'm sorry, I cannot count today. We're back on Kill House. Armories are reset. The sides are switched. It's gonna be Flogel and Company defending and Revenant and Company on attack. And let's see if they can replicate their former attacking glory. Because first split, first set, they have done insanely well. They've won 3 out of their 3 rounds, and it wasn't even close. I think 2 of those were flawless. And if they can maybe just tap back into that same energy, the same vibes, I think they can demolish Yakuza, but Yakuza have also had their moments in the sun, and they've also been doing well in a few of those. So it's really a matter of question of who's going to be doing better this split because it's been oscillating for both teams, if you know what I mean.
No, I don't actually. I think you need to elaborate further.
I don't like you.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. For this kill house though, a lot of funnels. That's like the big thing to probably note here. You basically have like just kitchen to try to clear through, and there's a lot of wall bang capabilities. The defense know this because they had to funnel through kitchen a few rounds prior. You could go through hallway, but that is a very timely manner. Maybe even go for like a wall charge play like this, for example, but then you still would have to worry about people sitting in the back of this hallway to either flank late round when you're adding bomb pressure or swinging through this door to kill you over near the bomb like that. So kitchen probably is like the best option to still kind of get things done in a timely manner. But again, you're still just funneling. So it's a very, very tricky position to try to beat on the attacking side unless you just simply outgun your opponents.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. Again, I don't even know where I'd play a wall charge on this map. Maybe on this specific wall right here. We're not showing it on stream anymore, so it doesn't actually end up anyway. Maybe on this specific wall right here. But you still need to include kitchen, and then you still need to have someone watching flank. That is the only place that I'd really play a war charge. I think you're better off on this map, just kind of using the one charge on probably kitchen, maybe even hallway if you want to go for that instead. But reception is the most surefire thing to go here for. And let's see what actually happens. A few shots coming out from both Chrome and Ghetto, and they will nick just a little bit of HP off of the players of Bingus. But will it be enough throughout the round? Probably not. Keep in mind, fellow attackers have way more HP than defenders. 150 to be exact, which, takes a lot of bullets to kill. Or it's hard.
Thankfully, the defenders have some pretty strong weaponry, so that counteracts it quite well. Reception in the pocket
Agreed.
of Bingus, pretty decent time. And there goes the late charge inside of red. Honestly, could be a pincer maneuver here. The Molly will actually isolate out Josh. Thankfully, though, he does not die. He's at about half health. Ned gets rid of Chrome Trigger as they try to extend and play in a do or die position, essentially. Flogel might have to do it a couple of flashes to the face here as they try to get aggressive. Revenant actually has no idea that Flogel is that close behind the green door here. The patience could be big, but as Ghetto will fall, it honestly is make or break here for Flogel. They swing wide, but Marbles manages to survive. Hallway now in the pocket of the attack as Gravy gets aggressive. Jet cannot play in an amp position to deal with Gravy, forcing Flogel the only one alive. And Ned was just waiting there with the pump action. And because of that, we're not going to have any bite back here for YY. Overtime, or pardon, a tie game, sorry, is at least confirmed for Bingus as they're back on the come up here, apparently, Boxy.
Yeah, I guess they just need to get on attack, and it's all looking up for them. Once again, it's a flawless. All 5 Bingus players still alive. Just put Yakuza in the dirt where they apparently belong, and it again, this round wasn't even close. And like you said, they have at least a guaranteed tie now. Knowing most of the Bingus players, I do think that they're a team that heavily relies on how the vibes are currently in the voice chat. When the vibes are high, they do well. When the vibes are low, they do worse. And so given that they cannot lose anymore, they can either tie or win. I think their vibes are as high as they've ever been this entire matchup, meaning that they can probably just squeeze this one round out of Yakuza in the next 2 rounds. Like they need to. It's gonna be kill them up first, and then in case Bingus fail, it's gonna be Bank, I want to say. No, it's
I believe
C-Store
you're
actually. It's C-Store.
yeah.
It is C-Store. Yeah. Um. So kill them up first. Again, Castle, a huge point of contention. And by the way, this was the only map that the defenders have won so far in this game, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. On the last split, when Bingus were defending it, this was the only tile set today won by the defenders. And
And then C-Store immediately after.
yeah, that's right. So Flogel and Company need to actually hold this and then hold T-Store, just like Bingus did to tie this one up. Can they do it though? Bingus have been looking relentless on their attacks, and we keep stressing this, but it's a best of one. If you lose this one round, you're out. We are on match and series point, and it's all up to Yakuza to try and somehow salvage what can be salvaged still.
So it looks like Pit is going to be the main attack here so far for Bingus. Not completely bad. I'm trying to wrap my head around
I'm
the
not a
best
fan of
thing
that.
here for Pit. I mean, you can get a really nice double prong attack in both Beach and Pit. Don't get me wrong. But besides that, trying to clear out Castle incredibly early on, which I mean, I don't really hate that. There is
I
nothing
mean,
else on the map that can help Castle if you're able to successfully have Pit in your pocket. So
I
that's not a horrible idea.
I think what we will see Bingus do, because we have seen them play like this in the past, well, they will blow, they will have someone contest these green doors, then they will take control of Beach, and then Beach will push out, and Beach will still be passive. And only once they've established base control and everything else, once they start, putting pressure into the castle window from base and just kind of castle in general and jungle in general, only then I think Pete will get aggressive, try pulling lights, try going for the
Mm.
button. I could be wrong.
So far, doesn't look like it though. Doesn't look like you're very wrong.
That happens very often. You know me, but also Photon
Mm.
is playing in Pit, which could prove absolutely detrimental. Keep in mind he has a molly in hand and ready to throw it, and also the castle doors are open. The Jet on the sniper shot comes out, doesn't hit sadly, but then again, Jet is not a sniper. I love you, Jet. Molly's coming out though, and none connect just yet. Photon still playing safely though. Can he get at least one Jet swing in castle doors this time around? Photon fires prematurely and actually gives away his position. He gets one, but it's immediately refragged, and it's a 3v5 as Bingus are just losing manpower. 3v4 rather, excuse me. They're just losing manpower getting control of castle, but castle control established. Gravy gets a second one. That is Jet off the board. They can even play them up if they want to. Still 3 bullets in it as far as I know. And Gravy is extremely low on HP, so maybe picking up the mop would not be the worst idea. The grenades are coming out, and Marbles will neutralize Ghetto as well. It's all up to Chrome and Flogel, and they're both pinched very close together. They have very little map control, but they are close to the bomb. They can just play for defuse, possibly, if Bingus doesn't decide to clear them out. Only one flashbang left for Bingus to play around as well, and Marbles still in the Saber. Revenant takes a lot of damage and doesn't dish out any in return. 35 seconds left. The flash finally gets thrown. Revenant gets one, and Chrome has to fend off 3 attackers with just a neck. The short-range weapon from defense. Will he find one? No, he gets taken out by Revenant. He makes it 2-1 the round and wins the series for his team with a 7-4.
Well, a couple things to note, just minorly. I liked the use of the molly. It actually gave Jet time to reload and deal a bit of damage there with the mop. But also in general, like you mentioned, that double swing push actually worked really well for Bingus and able to get instant castle control and then only have to really worry about the top of ruins. Pretty good stuff by Bingus overall to actually bounce back and win out that series 7-4. But why? They had their moments of greatness, and it was pretty enjoyable to watch that as well. They had some really good pacing towards the middle part of the first half and general good team cohesion for a good chunk of the match as well.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, we will still see Yakuza play today. We're
Yeah,
going into a Yakuza versus GB match right after, but I think this was a very strong debut match for Revenant and Company. And I don't know why I keep saying Revenant and Company. I feel like, every player on that team is a star player. I guess I'm just a Revenant fanboy. But then again, who doesn't love the Magenta, man? The pink school is so cool. Or the Magenta school is so
damn
cool.
Bingus loyalist over here. First it was GB, and now it's to be Bingus. I swear, because now you're like, well, I can't
I'm
openly
a
like GB anymore because you guys are
bandwagoner
gonna call
like
me out.
that. Oh well.
Yep.
Anyways, I just feel like they did extremely well. They surprised me. They had their lows as well, don't get me wrong, but their highs were extremely high, and I feel like the team has so much potential. Will they actually unlock all of that potential is another question, but it sure looks like it thus far. A few more scrims, and I think they will be good. But any closing thoughts on the matchup for today?
No, I think not. With all that being said, we will go into a quick little break and be back for the last best of one of the day as quickly as possible. So don't go anywhere, as we'll be back momentarily.